Okay. Welcome, people. Please stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to start off with Lauren from Avatar, because she had an appointment at 4:30. So that way you can get out of here. So.
It's a little bit of a ride.
Yeah.
Not too much.
Okay, like 700 money, Chuck, Vicky.
Hi, how are you all?
We're doing well.
I don't think we've all been on here since the last time I was up here, so relatively new work for me. I just wanted to come in and.
Excuse me, would you mind like sitting up there,
Oh,
because
no,
the
I
mic's
can
not gonna pick you up
Sure.
here, you have a soft voice. Thank
I
you.
thought I was loud.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Is that better? So I just wanted to introduce myself because I've never met the board and kind of go over some general information about what we do for you. And then see if you had any questions, concerns from me.
No, that's why we called Jim, because we'd like to know and meet you. So in the contract,
Yeah,
it says that we meet periodically, but
yeah.
I don't even remember the first time I was selecting ever meet somebody from Habitat, but maybe. So
Yeah, and I don't know formally because I haven't myself been the one here doing the day-to-day work for you. And the last time I was before the board that was here, but that was probably
before my time.
seven
Was
or
it before your time too? Huh?
7 or
Oh,
8
yeah.
years
Yeah.
ago,
No,
maybe.
somebody was in from the office probably 4 years ago, 3, 4 years.
That was probably Chad.
ago.
Yeah. Chad or Jonathan at the time, or both. So I'm the director of assessing operations at Avatar. So I oversee the whole assessing department. I also do some of the contract assessing work that we do in some of our communities, but far less and more oversight. So Chad's out doing field reviews, so he was going to come with me, but rather than have him drive back from Bartlett for a meeting, I figured I can just come meet you. And I don't know if you've all met Chad while he's in and out of
Yeah.
here.
That makes sense.
Okay. So we come in periodically to do just general assessing for you and make sure things are up to date and assessed properly. We go out, do your new construction work, do your annual inventory at your campgrounds pursuant to statute for that. We assist with your sales ratio. We do the qualification of sales for that, and we export that data to the state to generate your equalization ratio. We work with the Department of Revenue with monitoring all of the work that's done in the town. We take care of all your data entry, do your utility valuations. We go out, do your cycled inspections to make sure your data stays accurate and up to date. So we look at, on average, 10% of the records a year. It's about 188 properties we go out to annually just to verify that the data is accurate and there hasn't been any significant changes to the property, additions, deletions, or simple errors that might have occurred in the data entry process. We look at all of your abatement requests. We provide you with a recommendation in writing on those abatement requests. Should those abatements become appeals to the next level, we defend you before those bodies, whether it be Superior Court or the Board of Taxable Land Appeals. In the case of Superior Court, you would also need your town attorney there. So we work as the expert witness in those cases, and then your attorney would be your legal representation to make sure, even though I like to pretend I'm an attorney some days, I really don't have that law degree. I just like to argue. So that's what we do kind of in a nutshell for you. And it's, while we have a contract that says we'll do this, that it's really custom fit to each municipality. You have staff here now that is capable of doing things that some of the processing of whether it's exemptions, credits, things like that. where some communities may not have a clerk anymore, or someone to help with those things. So you do have someone here that helps with that, so that we're not doing all of that for you, which just means that you don't need us as much as another community might that doesn't have that kind of support staff. So that's really us in a nutshell.
And the property is values right now. How is the assessments looking towards what properties are selling for?
Well, as is what is going on pretty much statewide, the assessments are significantly lower than market value at the moment. That's a statewide issue right now. COVID exacerbated that appreciation in the market we were seeing. That's a statewide issue right now. So I know we've talked about you only really need to be at 100% of market value once every 5 years. Under state law, state constitution, that's your obligation to bring values to 100% once every 5 years. Can't go 6. You can do it more frequently, but as long as time permits, but you're not really gaining anything out of that because the state looks annually at what the market is doing with those sales. They compare the assessments to that and they'll give you that ratio. So while you can pay us to do an update more frequently, you're not getting anything more out of that because values go up, tax rate comes down. The same bills have to be paid. You're obligated to do it once every 5 years at a minimum. So most towns, most smaller communities stay on that schedule because it's the most cost effective. Some of the larger communities that have a bigger staff, they might have, 5-6 people in their office where they might update assessments annually in-house because they have a bigger staff. The towns that have a contract assessor, it's not worth it for you to pay for an update every year because you're really not getting anything for your money for that. You're bringing the values to 100%, but the tax rate's going to fluctuate based on the value of the, wherever the assessments are. So I don't know exactly where that number is right now. My guess, if I had to guess, would be probably in the 70s, which would mean that properties are selling on average probably 30% higher than what the assessments are on average. We did the last update here, 2020, correct? Right, so we're slated to do it again for 2025. I wish I had a crystal ball. I'd probably be very rich and not doing this anymore. The market's a fickle thing. Right now with interest rates coming up, we would just looking at pure economics, interest rates go up, values start to come down. We're seeing a lot more supply. A year ago, if you were looking for something on the market, you didn't see signs put in the ground very frequently because they would only be on MLS for a couple of days and they were gone. So we're seeing, real estate signs out and about. We're seeing more supply on the market, and when there's supply and interest rates are higher, values tend to come down. So there should be some natural correction in the market that we're hoping to see. It's just a little bit slow here in New Hampshire to catch up with the rest of the world that's starting to slow down in the real estate market. So not worth it to update values, in my opinion, to spend the money to do that, to bring things up to market value, particularly in this crazy market, only to have things potentially stabilize in a year or two. And then your assessments would be above market value. And that's probably
Are
not.
there any automated triggers for the state that say once they do the reval and it hits a certain percentage, we can't wait 5 years, we gotta do it now?
No, you only have to meet those statistics, which is between 90 and 110% of market values once every 5 years. So when they do that assessment review, you have to hit those plateaus or you would fail and they could petition you to do it. So, but we always have worked with you to do those updates in your assessment review year to make sure you're bringing values to market value, whether it's up or down, so that you do hit those statistics with the state.
So as timing would have it, having you here today, we also just got a letter of deficiency around a whole bunch of assessing things from the state.
I read that, yes.
Do you help us with that? Start figuring that out? How's that work?
I will work with David on that. A lot of the things that were deficient were things that we don't normally do for you. Your stats were all fine, your COD, your PRD, your ratio, your exemptions, your current use needs some help. If I recall, your current use is pretty bad. And nobody ever has wanted to spend a lot of money to try to rectify current use records, although I thought, I'm going by memory and I'm probably dating myself probably back 15, 20 years. But when Gwen was here a long time ago, I thought she had gotten those records spot on. So I've got to look pretty close at what they reported, and I'll touch base with Dave to make sure that we can get you guys in compliance with those things that were deficient. I just kind of glanced over it quick. I got it yesterday or the day before, and I did notice there was something about elderly exemptions. So I'll work with Dave to make sure that you're in compliance, but typically they're taking care of that in the office for you. And I don't know what happened with that in 2020, or if there was just something, sometimes they don't dig too deep to find the right record. So I'll work with him to make sure we get you up to speed on that. And you have a right, if we go through the records and found that you did have the information there, we can file something with the department to let them know that here's the information you didn't have or whatnot. So we can, file on your behalf for that to make sure
There
you're.
were individual forms that we completed as to what the findings were. And what
Yeah.
the remedy was.
Yeah. So we'll work with him to make sure you're compliant as best we can.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
It's your report card, so you kind of probably get a C on that one. And I think in the past, you've probably got an A+. So we want to make sure you're in compliance. So it doesn't take much when you're looking at exemptions and credit records. If they look at, and there's, 2 out of 20 that they looked at that they couldn't find something, they would mark it as deficient. It just automatically fails that portion. It's pretty strict.
That was like a small number.
Yeah, that's what happens. And it's harder, when they go to a city like Nashua, say, that might have 1,000 elderly exemptions. When they look at a couple that fail, the percentage is much different. So when you have a smaller number of them, it doesn't take much to put you out of the range for compliance. So we'll make sure you're looking good there.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure of Dave's hours. I had just checked with Audrey on that, so I'll coordinate with him. I was hoping he would be here tonight, but I didn't realize he's not here after 2. So
Now, is there a certain time period that you have to do that in?
so it's a little late coming from them because it's your assessment review for your 2020 update year. So to get something now in mid, it's a year and a half after the real, because the assessments were as of April 1st, 2020. So they would normally wait for equalization to come out, which would have been in like February, March of 21. So you should have had a report from them sometime shortly thereafter. So this is pretty late in the game. So we'll want to make sure that they were looking at everything accurately in that time frame.
I have input on the current use. The files were kept separately. I guess the properties or the records were already identified by CRA. And when David wasn't here, and there were 2 books prepared for them when they came in to do the audit. So he passed them the books, and just now is he going through and matching the current use to the property folder. So I don't know if they didn't ask him.
Well, that's what I find. They're not always, they just come in and do their thing and don't ask, like, am I missing something? Is it somewhere else? And I've found them just kind of pointed in the wrong direction. And that's why we want to look at it. Because if you have the records here and current use, like I said, I use Effingham as an example because I remember when she would chase people down at the dump to make sure that they got their current use records updated. She was like vigilant with that. And she had done such a great job. So my guess would be all of that information is here. It's just getting them to the right place. So if you have the records, we definitely want to point them in the right direction. And so you have an opportunity to rebut their findings and provide the information, and then they'll just, it may be as simple as that. That would be my guess.
Well, hopefully between Audrey and David, you split away.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll report back to you so you have that. And they would as well. So if we send in something to rebut their findings, they would end up sending you a revised report on that, so you have that as well. I'm gonna make a note of it so I don't forget, because I am getting old.
You're not the only one with that problem.
If I mean, the guys tease me, my book here with my pencil and but it's in here, so I'll know. I won't forget. And it's in pen. Did you have other questions for me about what we do and what we can do for you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
If you can get people to pay their taxes.
Well, 2 years in a day. Yeah, no, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And it's difficult everywhere right now, so. No, I don't know what else you can do with that. Do we still do inventories here?
No,
I mean, that was one of the only benefits. I hated inventories myself. If you have a good building permit process, you don't really need that, but the penalty associated with inventories sometimes, made people do that, because then if they didn't, they had other issues with inventories as well, so.
yeah, and it was last year.
Yeah,
Stopped
and we
doing-
actually looked at it
Yeah.
over a 2-year period of time, and we weren't getting the bang for the buck
Right.
based on the expense. So
Yeah.
we elected to get rid of it.
Yep, a lot of towns have done that, although one town I had, they didn't want to mail it because of the expense. So at town meeting, they handed out the bulk of their inventory forms there to try to save some money to get them out there, but yeah. Interesting stuff, but
Good.
Very good.
Me
Good.
too.
Well, thanks, Laura. for coming in.
absolutely, and I think somewhere Audrey has my email if you don't, but feel free to send me an email, even though I'm out and about. I always have my phone on me, which is in there, but I always have my phone on me, so I can always check that if you need anything. Happy to come back and work with you on anything that you have going on.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank
I
you.
will, I gotta go back and get my stuff. I'll take care of that with David, and then we'll get back to you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
You do the same.
Thank you.
Yeah, she can.
I'm just gonna grab
Yes.
that.
Audrey's got it under control.
Okay, Lisa, you have an appointment, so we'll grab you.
All
before we-
right. Well, I was hoping to do this earlier and not be in a moment of kind of need, but as the chair of the planning board, I have been given the authority by this, as the chair of the land use board, I've been given the authority by this board to engage special counsel we did it for the ZBA. Special counsel is used when your attorney's not available, which happens to not be at the moment, or when there's a possibility of an action that might come between the boards, whereas people might be approaching the board for some action, approaching our board for some action, and the potential for there being some conflict in that. I just wanted to make sure you're okay with the chair of the planning board engaging special counsel, which could be as brief as needed, right, as needed. And so again, this was done a few years ago with someone in particular who's over in Sandwich, and that was who I would contact again. And I don't know if I need anything from you, but I just kind of, two of you are new. One of you is actually on the board, so you know what we do on the board, but I wanted to just make sure we're okay. I don't know if there's anything that has to be done.
Use your judgment, try and keep the costs in line. I mean, if somebody's just sitting there running up the hourly meter, if there's a better way to do it, try and come up with it.
You think we should not be advised of when they go for counseling or? I mean, so that we know what's going on.
I don't know if we've ever had a procedure in the past that I'm aware of in the last
Yeah,
4 years.
never, it's just been something that in the past, we did it with a different board. I would assume if I was still on that board, do that again. I haven't personally done it as the chair of the planning board, but it's the same authority, the same reason, the same purpose. And so I'm just making sure it's okay to do that in the context of the planning board, where we have another case that attorneys are on both sides and it's challenging.
Yeah,
And
I don't,
Our attorney happens to be away.
Yeah.
So that's what brought it to the, when I can't just find something out readily and I need to, that is what made me think I need to be prepared to have this available if we need it.
right,
I'm just saying, for me, I'm feeling, yes, it's okay, as long as we know that you're getting the counseling, you know what I mean? That we don't find out later, oh,
I can draw up a little agreement with him. He would, I know, require that. I just wouldn't be case specific. It would be an ongoing relationship, and we can send that to you.
yeah, I mean, it's just an as needed
So in
basis.
other words, I don't tell you when I need to call Matt Surge, right?
no,
But when I was in my living room and I'm getting requests from people about a case and I have a legal question, he's who I ask.
I'm just saying, it's like we see it on the manifest when we get the bill from lawyer. It's like after the fact.
Yes, it should say.
And it's like,
case
well,
on.
how many times did you call for?
It should say that in the bill. It should say, or we talk, what the communication was and what case it was on. I assume that's how he does his bill.
He does.
So all that should be.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Neither do I.
Maybe you get a,
Dave Strauss, speaking
Yeah.
from a budget perspective, the last time the planning board did this, what threw the cost way out of whack was the attorney set in for the whole hearing, and it was understood or perceived that it was only going to be as far as a consultation, not actually attending the whole hearing. So the cost was extremely more than expected. Is this something you're going to be attending a full hearing or is it consultation?
I would certainly hope a consultation, but also in that case, there were attorneys that got involved. And when the attorneys are involved in vis-a-vis the board needs that guidance.
So that
So
was an
that would be the
expected
only
cost of somewhere in the $6,000 range that we didn't expect
I
to
think it
be
was
so high.
$3,600.
No, it was
No.
higher.
Not, I don't think for our case. Might have been for the year or something, but it wasn't our case.
For the
Yeah.
one for the
Kill
lawyer
all
system.
the lawyers.
So I'm just making you aware
Yeah.
that there's a difference of a consultation as opposed to attending the full hearing, so there could be significant legal costs over budget that we didn't predict. So just as long as you have that information, obviously the planning board has to do what they have to do.
Correct.
We understand that, but I just want you to understand that you could see a lot
There's
more
a
than what
potential.
was expected.
Yeah.
because you
We
can't
have-
so
be,
we'll
we
try
have
and
Lenny-
keep it,
we have
we'll try
Lenny
and
on
keep it
the
at a
board.
minimum.
We have Lenny on the board, so we have one of your
Yeah.
on the
We'll
board.
try and keep it at a
In those-
minimum.
That's what I'm afraid of, no.
So that's one thing, that he's present for any of the conversations or decisions, but also that's billed readily. And so everything's documented what happened in what case.
Yeah, we need special counsel, yeah.
Thank you.
Seems to me that in this
So-
case, Lenny is your heads up. You know exactly what's going on a timely basis.
Yeah, Lenny is the heads up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you, board. Thank you, chairman.
okay.
And, I will forward a writing, an agreement with you too.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. All right, now we'll get on to In the signature folder, we make a motion to approve the minutes of June 14th. It's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We signed a warrant for unlicensed dogs. And PA 28 inventory of taxable property form for 2023. That's what was in there. I make a motion, I hate to do this, but make a motion to approve the manifest in the amount of $717,248.62.
That's second.
Then moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I
Aye.
think that's the biggest one I've ever seen.
$623,115 to the
I
schools.
was gonna say, that's what it is. If there's any doubt.
In the mail folder, we had a BTLA 2020 assessment review. BTLA order to show cause, an LRPC New Hampshire 10-year transportation plan project proposal, an LRPC invitation to the New Hampshire 25 corridor meeting on July 14th, and nice little letter from Eversource telling us to expect our rates to go up. Yeah. Administrator comments.
Well, good news is I spoke to Darlene. She sounded great today and she's gonna be doing a little bit of remote work.
Great.
Yeah, hopefully she can hold on to that. Good feeling. And I've been pretty much straight out, getting things done that we talked about in the last meeting. You saw the easement for the Spencer property, and I'm trying to track down the King property so you can move forward with the Bailey Road Bridge project. I sent Melissa Siemens the list of multifamily properties she had asked for last week. 2 weeks ago. And we've been billing and they've been paying the police details. You have a budget to actual. What you'll find, I'm saying this probably for your benefit. What you'll find is I talked to the accountant and they should not penalize the budget, and they should be handled in future budgets differently because we are receiving offsetting money for them. And I need to understand how to track that in QuickBooks differently. So when you get your budget to actual, that shouldn't be held against the police department. They're not exceeding their budget. So that'll be something I'll update you on more when I find out about it.
Would our grant process follow that same logic, where it's money coming from the outside to cover bills that we're gonna pay?
Yeah, it does. And the grants we have down below the line, so those should net out at zero. Because when we receive that payment, we apply into an expense account. The way he worded, I am not an accountant, but the way he worded it for the police details, I'm not fully sure how to set it up. But either Darlene will be back and help me figure it out, or I'll reach out to Greg Colby for help. But we'll figure it out before year end and get that done. And Pike's been paying really promptly, and you're on 2 other details now, so you need to learn to bill them. So that was something I learned the last 2 weeks, is how to invoice out of QuickBooks. I don't know what questions you have for me. I didn't get a report ready, what I've been doing.
Okay. I know you've been busy. So.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Bailey Road bridge work, did talk to Jake Dawson, and he's been in contact with Chris Forney and knowing about the wetland permit and the easement. I don't know if the wetlands permit has been resolved.
I had an email from Chris Fournier and he said just the easements they're waiting on. That was last week, Chuck, because I think you were copied on that.
Because the wetlands permit, they wanted more information or something on it. But he said that they're waiting for some bridge hardware that they were promised to have this week, the end of this week. And if they get it, then they will probably start July 11th. That was his tentative date back in.
If we get the easement signed,
Yeah.
none of the work starts until the easements are recorded. So that one that's that estate issue is going to be the question.
So that's where it stands there. But he said, yeah, that's a good time to do it. The water's the lowest I've ever seen it in years. And he said, yeah, he was down there and looked at it. But he'll keep me posted, and he's been in contact with Chris Fournier. So. Chuck, what do you get?
Couple things.
Okay.
I have a change order for Cobalt Construction Management for the Powder Post Needle project at the library. After we signed the contract, Chris was getting into the detail and weeds. We had to contact the architect and the structural engineer, who outlined additional requirements we now have to meet as far as removing clapboards and screwing stuff through the outside beams and everything else. It was not part of the project. So it's actually going to increase the project by $7,084.58. So I want to make a motion to approve this change order. This will come out of the grant monies and fundraising. It has no effect on the town operating budget.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Good, thank you. I'll get Chris, Audrey, I'll get Chris to sign this and I'll bring this back here. The library approached me about a barbecue question regarding alcohol on the property, and I said, rather than me try and reiterate it, I invited Grace in to let her firsthand tell us about it.
All right, Grace.
So the library, we've been talking about this for some time now. A lot of public libraries are allowing alcohol in the library in controlled circumstances. And the library would like to do that, but I wanted to talk to you folks about it. I've talked to Primex, I've talked to, I've reached out to a lot of different people to find out what's entailed there. Particularly as regards to the barbecue, we want to be able to do it as a BYOB. We looked at actually including alcohol in the ticket, but then that gets more expensive. And the idea is to make this barbecue a fundraiser, not a drain or break even. But I wanted to check and see how the town feels about that. So this is a public building. Our idea is to do follow what other libraries have done, have it a closed event. So anytime we have alcohol, so one of the examples that it's used, I've got 3 examples, one which is more relevant for us, like a paint night and serve a complimentary glass of wine. You know, if you're doing a paint night, it enhances painting skills. Yes, it does. It has, yeah. You get to paint more.
That's a scientific study.
Chris is gonna model, right?
Never seen this slime. I was painting today.
There you go. So anyway, that's one example. And so obviously, when this one is advertised, there's gonna be a lot of people participating as well. But it would be a controlled circumstance. So it would only be people, it wouldn't be walk-in people. And in that example, it would be a complimentary glass of wine. We wouldn't be charging for it. We wouldn't have to follow the
Liquor law.
the alcohol liquor laws. Thank you. I think it was ATF. It's like, no, it doesn't apply. But anyway,
It's not that
we don't have to do
serious.
that either. So anyway, so that is one example. That would be a real life example. In some libraries, they also allow their community rooms to be rented out for private events, like for showers or things like that. And they allow liquor, and there's a form that's used by people if that would be done. We're not looking to do anything like that. So we want it to be a very controlled circumstance. We don't want to have an event where we would charge for alcohol, but if we did, then we would certainly follow what Primex and the Liquor Commission right now has. So we wanted to run it past you, though. This would be a BYOB, in particular for the barbecue, we like to be a BYOB because it's smoked brisket and pulled pork, and a beer kind of goes nicely with that.
Beer goes nice with anything.
It does. It's a breakfast food. Guinness is. But anyway, I reached out to Hobbs because we were interested in doing a partnership with them, and actually, they were very good at suggesting, rather than doing that, come up with this approach instead. So one in particular, so I wanted to find out your feelings about having that, and Chief, I'd like your thoughts as well. You know, if the library does something like this, we haven't passed it with all the trustees are in agreement, but I'll talk to you guys first. And I'll bring it up at the next board meeting.
I can see a BYOB would probably be better than serving alcohol. I think serving alcohol is kind of
It's very complicated. You have to.
Yes,
serve.
a little
you
more
have to get one
liability.
day. Yeah,
would
there's
fall.
all sorts. And I did, so in the handout, I did the thing that Primex, the guy from Primex was very helpful in going over the different things with me. And he was very familiar with what was done in other libraries as well. So I attached that to my little documentation. But yeah, we are not thinking of that. So that's why we're thinking of just the BYOB or a glass of wine, if people want to do date night or other closed events.
So if you said BYOB and they brought a bottle of wine and think they're gonna sit there and drink the whole bottle and then drive home, I mean, how do
That's when
you?
he's sitting outside and that's.
Yeah.
when he's-
Yeah, I mean, that is where the response, yeah, that's where it gets.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's always the potential for that.
Not really the same, I think.
The library parking lot, but I don't know.
I mean, I've attended things that they supply the wine and you got 2 tickets.
Yeah,
Once those tickets were gone, that was it.
Yeah.
You.
we
didn't
actually
anymore.
talked about that, and we talked about that with Primex as well. The concern we had is that puts the staff responsible for ensuring, you know, there's a responsibility then for the person it's still a serving, it's still giving out the alcohol.
Mhm.
And ensuring that that person recognizes somebody was impaired and shouldn't have that second drink.
Right.
So that's why we opted not to go with that. And because honestly, Vicki, that's what we thought of at first, thought that would be a good way to do it.
Yeah, and there are people who don't drink to give their tickets to someone
Well,
who
see,
does,
there you
and then
go.
they have 4 instead of
Exactly.
2. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And then you have to do one, but then it gets, you know, then
Mhm.
it just gets to be an expense, so. And I don't know, Chief, what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, the way you're describing it, it sounds like it's fairly low key. I don't foresee any potential issues, you know, coming from my standpoint. I mean, depending, I think I want to take it on an event by event basis, kind of see what is gonna be going on and what's happening. I mean, if it's a paint night, we'll have 1 glass of champagne or whatever. I don't see an issue with that at all. But if it's gonna be more of a barbecue style type thing, bringing it in, you know, then we'd probably be interested in having somebody there or, you know, having a little further discussion on it. I don't know a lot about the liability part of it as far as the town goes, but to me, I don't see where the town wouldn't be liable if somebody left there and killed somebody or themselves. It's still a sanctioned town event, I think is what they're gonna argue. So I think that has to be taken into consideration. I just look at restaurants, you know, that overserve, and I've been to several fails resulting of that, and these places get shut right down. And they have all kinds of, you know, rules in place and stuff. So that would be my, from a law perspective, you know, I don't think there's gonna be any fights, rowdy, I don't know like that. But that would be my only concern with the town's actual liability. Because I think some of these, they can say whatever they want, but when you're the family of the person who gets killed.
Yeah.
That's, God forbid, you know, it'd be a whole different ballgame.
And you brought up a really good point, Chief. One of the towns, the city of Nashua, so if they allow it in the, allow use of alcohol. But it gets run past the city manager before the event is approved. So they have a form that's filled out and so forth. So I think that's a good point to bring up so that people will be familiar with it.
What did Primex say? Do they have a problem with it or?
No, they
Any
didn't.
recommendations?
Their recommendation was if we were to serve alcohol, to get a professional server in and not put the owners. That was the biggest recommendation. Do not put it on staff
Yeah.
or trustees or something like that. Get a third party who's going to do it, who isn't swayed by personal relationships and also has been trained in how to know if somebody is too inebriated for another drink, that type of thing. So we did talk about that, hiring a bartender and so forth, but then that just made this more complicated and it got much more expensive. We want this to be a fundraiser for the shed, not a big party, just for the sake of having a party. So.
When does,
I was just wondering, is this paint nice for adults only?
Yes.
Yes.
And, I was going to say that, but then I thought, when I was going to say adult painting, it just sounded a little smart. I didn't specify.
If we can get close to it.
and the barbecue would be adults only?
Well, I will
It
tell you.
might turn out to be.
Yeah, right.
We really don't want children. We want this to be a social event for adults, not for families, and we purposefully and priced it that way as well. So it's $25, just so you know, because everybody's invited. It's $25 for pulled pork, for smoked brisket, rolls, cornbread, watermelons, and non-alcoholic beverages. And ice cream or something else. So we priced it because we didn't want to have families necessarily. We want this to be a grown-up event.
And you cap the number of tickets.
We did cap the number of tickets at 100. So if you want one, get it soon. So anyway, your thoughts?
You can put it together. You can get something good.
If I could interject, so
Yeah.
on a lot of municipal events like that around here, I know, Osby, if it comes to the town serving, or you serving, I can't, Joe, help me, what is that cert called?
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
service cert,
Oh,
they have to go to school for it,
it's responsible beverage service training.
so what is the
No,
abbreviation
serve
for that?
safe.
Serve safe,
Yeah,
serve safe,
that's it.
thank you. Which that could be, doesn't have to be a bartender, that could be a waitress or a waiter.
Yep.
And there may or may not be somebody in town that is serve safe certified, that may
Well, actually,
volunteer their time,
and they
and
do
that
have one
covers
day
somewhat
training.
of the liability. that's all.
That's a really good point, Chris. I'm really glad you brought that up because they do have one-day training for nonprofits in
There you go.
particular. So that might be, I think that'd be a good thing to go through.
That just limits
Yeah.
some of the liability. Obviously, everybody knows, as Joe brought up,
It seems to me though, when it comes to lawyers, the first thing that happens is a list of potential people to go after is made. And then the town would still be right at the top of that
Steve.
list.
From where I'm sitting, Lenny, it seems to me that the less liability prone approach to me would be a BYOB. But you could also do a caveat and say, would only be for beer and wine. Okay?
Yeah.
You can say people are allowed to, if they need to have alcohol with the barbecue, they can bring their own beer or their own wine. Therefore, we don't have to hire anybody to serve them. We don't have to stock whatever we're gonna sell, and we don't have to be responsible for over serving. Only thing we do is put into place the fact that they bring their own, but it's only beer or wine.
You got
But
that,
even
Chris?
if we're approving it, we'd still be responsible, right?
Well, what you're doing is condoning an event to take place on town property, but you are not serving people the instrument.
But you're allowing them to bring it to the.
Right, but I think that is a less entanglement.
Then you can't have any open containers, everybody would have to put everything in their cup. Kind of, sort of like hide it, kind of, like they do in state parks, you know what I'm saying?
You would know that.
Yes.
Oh.
So anyway, Grace, if Primex, their show would be covered for something like that?
Well, it starts out, it's unfortunate that everything comes with a risk.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how they start out on their thing here, which, that's why I wanted to talk to you about it.
Yeah, people don't show up already.
Mm.
I mean, I,
We're not covered for that. I think we're crazy to do it. I think we're crazy to alcohol, they'd race if we run 1 in 1,000 chance of somebody having a fatal or near fatal incident happen because of it. I don't think that that it's worth what could happen.
Percentage.
They have to be
funding
pragmatic about this, you know?
and homes, like flatbread stuff.
Well, we've actually thought of holding events at hogs, but
Yeah.
not, yes,
Oh,
and
okay.
actually, but this one was to have it at the
Sure,
library
sure.
because the smoker, you know, you said that. So
Okay.
that, so the smoker, the barbecue's gonna be at the library, other events we've talked about
Linda?
having hogs.
Well, don't they let you bring, if you go to one down by the hardware store, they let you bring your own food.
Vicky, hold on,
Sorry.
Linda,
Yeah, I was just wondering, if someone did have a little too much of the BYOB, who's gonna go up and say something? Who's gonna police it? Yeah, say it, you know, that's.
Everybody looks.
Joe.
No, but I
But the
think,
problem is you're running into, if they're on town property and they're not causing a
Right.
problem, but they're
Right.
drunk, there's nothing for us to arrest them for. We can't TC them unless they're a danger to themselves or somebody else. So they can walk around that property drunk as a skunk, and if they're not committing a crime or being a danger, we can't, if they're over 21, we can't do anything about it.
I think I agree with Steve. I don't think it's a habit we should get into. We have other organizations in
much
town.
risk.
If one doesn't, they're all gonna want to do it.
It's absolutely minimal business risk, because it's BYOB case law already supports that in the state of New Hampshire. If we're serving, that's a whole different ballgame. Where we're not serving, it's absolute minimal risk. Yes, we would be named. The primary money being spent by Primex will be attorney defense costs to basically show why it's not a liability for us, basically.
So you think how long is the event?
2 hours, 6 to 8.
And having an officer there might mitigate a lot of it, but everything.
Are you donating your time, sir?
I'm,
This is a fundraiser.
Well, I'm sure it could be scheduled when I have somebody on shift.
Probably.
But yeah, so we would schedule an extra patrol for it.
Well, just
We
figure
could
we don't have
accommodate.
that many people in town, Joe, most of any perpetrators would be right there.
Yeah, right, well, that's true, that's true. I mean, we could definitely.
Is there a
accommodate.
date?
yes, July 22nd, Friday, July 22nd. So I, you know, it's interesting because listening, and we've had these conversations and batted these around, you know, library discussions, board meetings and so forth. You know, and I'm torn both ways, because I hear both sides of
Yeah.
it, and I, you know,
It's like, do you prevent people that are responsible
right,
from having
Yep.
a glass of wine and relaxing and whatever,
Yep.
because someone else spoils it, like everything else, you know, do you put yourself in that position? It's
So- I will say, given the uncertainty, I'm not comfortable with going forward with having alcohol then at the barbecue. I'm feeling uncomfortable about that.
Cider,
So-
water, coffee, stuff like that.
Yep.
You know, fine.
Yeah.
I seriously think, Grace, that it's
Yeah.
too much of a risk,
Yeah,
Only 2
not enough
hours.
rewards.
there goes paint night. Yeah, I did that.
You say you couldn't have one before you come to the meeting.
There we go.
That's the problem there too with the employees. You can show up with a foreign load on and nobody knows. You
Oh,
end
no,
up
they
having-
know.
You end up having one beer at this event and go up and have a problem, you're gonna blame the event. And they're right.
That's true.
But it's gonna be minimal risk and we won't be found liable, Steve.
But
Case law in New Hampshire already supports this.
But I-
People have tried that.
I'm gonna say, I'm very comfortable with not, so I'll go back to the board, but I may revisit this in the future if there
Okay.
is another event.
sounds,
I would check.
Sounds
History
fun.
in this town says if there's anything that will come and bite us in the ass, it will be it'll happen.
If I may just make a couple more quick comments, obviously, this is a sewer world and a sewer happy world we're in. Chuck makes a very good point about case law. Joe made very good points on a case by case basis. I'm not talking about a hold in, I'm talking about painting that with wine. So I'm discouraged.
Well, the
by-
barbecue.
Right, I'm just going case by case, so.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat discouraged that now she wants to change her mind. I think it would be a great event that would be better attended with that, if somebody could have a glass of wine with their paint night. The fact that it's BYOB, this entire town, this entire world is BYOB. I could have come, obviously I came from work, but I could have went and responsibly had a cold beer or something when I got home before I chose to come here tonight. Now I'm sitting here. Does that put the town in a liability if I stumble going out of here and crack my head open? I mean, obviously a damn good attorney could find the nuts and bolts in that and find me a case. But I don't think you should be discouraged. I think that as the chief, he's the head of law enforcement in this town. You just said on a case by case basis. Go with that. I mean, Primex is our liability insurance. And they didn't say no. That right there should tell us something. What it's worth. That's my opinion.
Chief, would you have to have a special patrol that night, or would you be able to schedule so the normal shift coverage?
If
would
we're only
double?
talking a couple hours, I could just overlap a couple shifts and it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
We feed the person.
Done.
Gee, I wonder who's gonna do it.
We get tired. We like food.
They want to lose money.
What if selectmen will end up being the one to put the imprimatur on this and it'd be the one named.
It's okay, and
Okay.
because I have been in law enforcement before, and I've been involved with these cases, I know the risk is absolutely minimal,
I
and
understand that.
I'm willing to accept the risk because it's so small.
Chuck, I'm saying that so that everybody hears it and it's on record.
Yeah, good.
That's why I'm saying it, not because you already know it.
So somebody want to make a motion that if you want to serve alcohol there, I don't
Not
have a
sure.
problem with it.
I'll make a motion if you want to serve beer or wine.
Not serve it, but bring
I
your
mean,
own.
bring your own, I'm
Bring
sorry,
your
BYOB, beer or wine.
And what are we talking about? Are we talking about just paint night? We're talking about the barbecue? We're talking about anything?
Barbecue.
Case by
Okay.
case.
Barbecue.
The barbecue.
Let's try the
only?
barbecue.
Yeah.
Well, let's try the barbecue
Okay,
one time
I'll say okay with the barbecue.
and see what
and then
happens.
see
after
how it
we do that.
goes.
Right, exactly.
I'm assuming that's first.
Yeah, the barbecue. Yeah, I don't know when paint night is. Everything's scheduled. by then.
No, we're waiting to find out business schedule first and then we're gonna.
Oh.
Let me know.
Well, this is July 22nd, so we're almost there.
This is a month away, so I'll bring it back to the board and then, you know, if there's any other changes, but thank you,
Grace?
For hearing me out.
What time?
6 to 8.
6 to 8?
And he's going to be setting up the smoker the day before, so if you.
Okay.
Smell it.
Want to get an early snack?
Yeah,
in?
exactly, exactly.
Okay,
Thank you for the discussion, for your time, I appreciate it.
all right, Chuck, what else you got?
Last item, Dave Strauss and I are meeting tomorrow to talk about going over to Ospey to speak with those folks about a recreation contract for the
Okay, good.
upcoming year for the rec budget.
Okay,
And that's it.
Vicky?
Okay, yeah, so I represented the Board of Selectmen, presenting a congratulations speech to the 6th graders of the Effingham School. And held a meeting with the crew at the transfer station. Discussed their needs or wants or whatever. And evidently there was a situation where someone came and hadn't gone to the transfer station since December and came in with a truck full of stuff. And there was larvae and it was disgusting, I guess. And it just happened last weekend too. But anyways, they are asking if they can purchase a power washer with a wand. And they would like a 100-foot all-weather hose, because the hose that they have doesn't even quite reach to that little shed there, not the one where the oil is. And so they can wash down near the compactor with stuff that's around there. And the other thing was, they wanted to talk about who would be doing, I don't know whether it would be them, but we have Brad that comes in and does shoveling and whatever, like winter and stuff like that. And I kind of got the impression that maybe we might be looking into finding someone that might do that, come pick up the garbage and stuff. I don't know.
Mark picks up the garbage now.
Yeah. Not Brad. Would
No.
Brad just do the
No.
shoveling
Yeah,
and?
right.
It's a
That-
separate contract kind of thing. It has nothing to do with his transfer
Okay,
station. It's a
okay.
separate handyman contract we have with the town for snow shoveling and sanding and.
Okay, all right, all right. Because that was just brought up that who, and about coverage if someone is like it marks out or whatever, if there's someone that can do. Is what's his name, Bill?
Yeah, Bill's
Is Bill
usually
like,
covers.
but he's not there on Sundays, right?
No.
But he would be the next in line if Mark is out or whatever,
Correct.
because of situations that's going on
Right,
with
yeah,
him. Need to order the do not enter signs for the back part. Was it HEB that said we needed to put signs back there? And I think the do not, around the
Yeah, the land, which says landfill.
The
keep
whole
up.
Yeah.
landfill.
yeah, I guess
Oh,
the
yeah.
ones in the back need to be well, there isn't any, I guess. Or some of them are really bad and they need to be replaced, so we need to order those signs, get those in there soon. And let's see, I was wondering about did we get reimbursed for the plastic spillage container thing that we
Not
got,
yet.
we haven't gotten that back yet. We can look into that. And where we are with the 500-gallon drum.
I'd like to
whether we've
hold off
heard
on that one.
anything. Huh?
The Transfer Station Strategy Committee is going to meet next week for the first time about a long-term strategy. And before we go get rid of that, I'd rather have a few meetings so we can bring information back to the board around potential strategies, which may or may not include waste oil management.
So you think we should sit on that, you mean, or?
Yeah, because I mean, Audrey did find out that we are not absolutely obligated to pump that every 60 days. Depending, it depends on the type of license we have. So I'm not totally in favor of getting rid of that yet. Because the oil is going somewhere.
The oil is going up somewhere, but we're not bringing in enough oil to.
We don't know. We had an update that there's not a requirement to pump it every 60 days. So that whole discussion on the cost and the impact is a moot point. So it's one of those things like at this point, until we've got a better strategy for what's going on there, I think we should hold off. And it won't be that long,
Yeah.
a couple months.
No big deal. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got
See
all
what-
the green.
Okay, the other thing that I wanted to bring up was about the website maintenance stuff. I went and looked up the class 6 road thing is not on in there, not updated. Stuff is being,
Isn't it on the docs and forms page?
the old one is. I just looked at it before I came
I
here.
think I posted just what I got, but
Well, it's the old
anytime you see
one.
something that's not what you thought was supposed to be posted, I can check it in a flash. So
Well, I'm just bringing up that. And the minutes aren't in there. I know that there is a thing that says that it doesn't have to be put on the website. But I know a lot of people go to it to read it because they either can't attend or whatever, or they can't get in during the hours to see the copy that is required within 5 days here in the municipal building. I would like to see that it be put in there, even if it is a draft. If it's a draft, it has to say draft on it, but I'd like to see something put on the website for people to know what was discussed. And also the agenda page is not being released, so you can't go and see the agenda of what's gonna be talked about, or what was discussed, okay? The animal control officer on the website, it just says call dispatch. Should we have who it is? So no,
Call dispatch, they notify the police department, the police department.
okay, I just want people to know that because, and so they can see on the Zoom. And the other thing is, we haven't gotten any reports still. Oh, you have it, okay. From the fire department or police, but I guess he's got that. Other than that, that's it.
One last question.
Yep.
Any progress on the knotweed?
The knotweed,
Yeah,
from what I've been told, that, who was it,
Bartlett said that they decided they didn't want to do it. I
Yeah,
thought Audrey said you had a potential name of somebody we could follow up with.
on that I haven't heard.
I have to look it up. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay,
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
the minutes, I'll get them to Teresa. Chuck, you had brought up something last week that it wasn't up to date. You just brought something up to date. I'm wondering if they have an old version cached or something on their computer.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so, because of, yeah, right after the meeting, I made sure that whatever form it was up to date. And I thought I had sent the class 6 to Teresa. So I don't know how to easily tell people to clear their cache. I know how to do it from a geek point of view, but
Yeah.
so
But I'll go check, I'll let you know.
yeah, but Teresa and I will be meeting as soon as I can because I
so
know,
do you agree that we put the minutes?
yeah, they should be,
in
they
the
should
draft?
definitely be up there,
Okay.
sometimes,
But
you should come sit with me for a day, because I might go scan
Sometimes I
them.
feel like I have.
I might go scan them, and then someone wants a transfer station thing, and then I pick up the phone and they wanna know about reselling lots at the cemetery, and then the minutes are just,
Then I give you 10 things to do.
so.
And she's
So
alone.
that's
Which is
what,
alone.
that's what's going on right
Right.
now. Yeah, so, yeah, the minutes should have been up to date, so at least this past month, but. I'll
Yeah,
check.
because we haven't, I was trying to think of when the last one we
And
had.
I'm sorry if I missed what you said. Do you want me to go ahead with the hundreds of hosts?
Well, I don't know.
the guys usually, when it comes to equipment like that, like to go out and do the shopping, they usually go to scans and scans will bill us.
Yeah,
So I would-
or Mark sits with me. Did you talk about the power
And the,
washer?
and the power washer, yeah.
Okay.
It was a bad day when I met with Mark,
Yeah,
so he,
okay,
he, we're gonna talk and tell him, because he didn't
Yeah.
know what size hose,
yeah,
5/8, half inch, whatever, you
Okay.
know, so,
all right,
yeah.
all right, perfect.
Say what he wants for pressure washer.
There was a group of them and they were all like this, no, we should get this, we get,
Oh, I mean,
this PSA and this high and this, pressure and this, so it's like,
I mean, they want a gas
Getting-
one or a little electric one. Or-
I believe they said gas.
I get one. I'll give it to them. They can get it running.
That'll be a challenge for Bill. We'll take that right on.
Yeah.
Bill will get that right.
No, I give it, no, I think I sold that in the yard sale. I don't have it. But anyway,
All right, the
No,
ones
but yeah.
I looked up and gave you, I'll pass by Mark or Bill when I see them tomorrow.
Okay.
And speaking of the transfer station, the keys in this. And I forgot to tell Mark that last weekend.
You've been having logging trucks coming in and out of there all the time.
So Mark got called at 5:30 this morning. He dashed over to open it up, with Waste Management. I asked him why he didn't call me.
I was gonna say, all right, yeah.
But I went in, found Jeff Libby at the town cut, and he didn't have them. He's gonna check with Taylor to see if maybe one of the truck drivers might have just put them in their pocket or threw them on the dash of the truck or somewhere. So,
You looking at me?
no, I'm just letting you know. And we don't have any, so
Okay, so you want me to take an action? You want me to replace locks? You want me to?
no, we'll get a
Okay.
couple keys made if we can't find these. ones.
All right.
The guy Rich from RCH crack sealing called me this morning. They're gonna tentatively start crack sealing either tomorrow or the next day. He thinks it's probably more the next day, but he says, can you notify the police department?
Whereabouts?
They're gonna start on Townhouse
Okay.
and then Green Mountain Road. We'll see how much,
You said start tomorrow?
either tomorrow or the next day.
Speedway number 1 or Speedway number 2.
Right.
But just so you're aware of it.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the logger that broke the pavement on Snow Road, he says, we didn't do anything wrong. So, like, we're not gonna get anywhere with them, so,
I got the pictures right after you did that.
yeah, I know it. And he says, well, he said, road's not posted to trucks. I said, no, it isn't. He said, well, we didn't do anything wrong.
Then I think we ought to ask Matt, ship him the pictures and the information I gave you right after I found it, which was within an hour or two after. It
And then he
occurred.
said, I said, well, the town has a 30-ton weight limit on all town roads. It's not posted. What can I can't argue with it, I guess.
But I think we should still ask counsel, because I think there is an argument here.
Okay, we can check with that. But,
So just based on what I know the legal budget to be right now and what Evans charged us for it, is it worth asking town council?
That is a road that was supposed to last 10 or 15 years before it needed major repairs. And right now, it's gonna need repairs every year. Because what they put in is not gonna last one season. It needs to be completed with a paved roller fix.
I mean,
And I think we've got a case for that. We've got the pictures, we've got their tire marks. They're the only ones that are up and down that road because they're going by my house. It's like, I'll be more than happy to put whatever you need in writing.
okay. We got the sign quote from the other sign company. Was it Safe something? It was actually more than the prison. So, but now we gotta get landfill signs, so there was all, the price of the signs was over what we had left in the,
But the
In the
transfer
budget, so-
station signs would come out of a different budget.
yeah, but we gotta figure out, we don't have enough money to buy all the signs, so we gotta figure out.
Prioritize it.
Yeah, which ones we wanna do, so maybe we can do that at a work session. You know, meet it an hour early or something, next meeting, just for that,
What are we gonna do?
yeah, because the sign quotes were like a little over $2,000, and it's only
Is that
1,300.
this one?
No, that's the prison one, so,
Oh, that is.
yeah,
Oh,
and there's only like 1,300 left in the
oh.
budget. Yeah, we just do that, so we'll set up a work session for the,
July 12th at
12th.
3:30.
okay. And they're supposed to put out, hopefully, by the last load of calcium tomorrow. It should finish. I think there's only Crawford Hill, Snow Road, and Hunter's Bridge is left. And hopefully, they're having trouble getting calcium. They get a truckload tomorrow, but they gotta share it with Freedom. So you guys do your own calcium, right?
We do.
Yeah.
And we have trouble getting it.
So, yeah, I don't know what the problem is, but. So hopefully, they're going Freedom first, and they're supposed to be here by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And they ran out on the closed end of Granite Road. They did the 153 end, and then they started and ran out just about George's Corner down there. So whether they'll have enough to do that, I don't know. Go, put out for what far it goes. Okay, that's all I got. For business, everybody can see, we're trying to schedule a special town meeting for July 12th to make the police cruiser fund, make the selectmen agents to expend out of that fund, because we're in dire need of a police cruiser. So that's tentatively scheduled July 12th at, what'd you say, 5:30? 6:30?
Right after your meeting, so I think I said 5:30 or 6, and the only one I'm waiting to hear back from is the supervisors of the checklist, because I believe they're gonna have to verify everyone who votes can vote.
Yeah. And
So I think Carol Fisk needs to get back.
it's a non-monetary meeting, so I mean, there's no money raised or anything, so the money's in the trust fund. It's just that right now it needs a town vote. So, and we went over the street sign, we'll do that. Town offices are gonna be closed Monday, July 4th. And we don't have the fire department here, is he coming?
No, he's on call today. He said he'd drop off his reports on Thursday, and he sent me with a gentleman's resume that he would like conditional approval to hire. So I literally just got these
Oh.
moments before the meeting.
Well, he's not here, so we may not act on it tonight. I mean, Joe's here and he's been nice, so gonna call on police chief.
All right. All right, I got some statistics from April and May. I apologize if I'm sooner, losing Maria to kind of throw us into a little bit of trying to do her job as well too. So what I got is for April, our calls for service, about what they average, what they have been around 282. There's only one arrest for that month. Motor vehicle stops were at 67 with 4 motor vehicle accidents. I have not received any stats from state police yet, so those are not included. Let's see, May calls for service were up to 323 by about 41 calls. We had 3 arrests, 35 motor vehicle stops. Those are down by half, and that's because of the calls for service are up, more investigations equals less time on the road, which is we're starting to see that trend already. It's getting busy. And 2 motor vehicle accidents. So that being said, summer's here. The calls for service are going up. It's getting much busier, more people in town. 25 is, I remember there was no cars on that road a long time ago. Now it's like Route 16. You gotta wait 20 minutes to come off Rockwood Road some days. So there's definitely more people around, more activity. So, there's 2.5 of us really. So I just put it out there to you guys. You guys are our eyes and ears when we're not around. It takes the whole community. So let us know if you're having speed complaints, anything like that, traffic complaints, just let us know. We try to get to them the best we can, but you guys really do help when I get the complaints and stuff. So So that's that. I got a couple quotes coming. I got somebody coming Thursday for the mini split to look at both sides, 2 of those. I'm reaching out to a couple different people for prices on that. So other than that, it's.
When was the
business as
last
usual.
time we got a state police report?
Probably,
It's been a long, I don't think, but.
I want to say March, Vicky was the last
was gonna say
time.
before-
yeah. And I emailed the
before I
secretary
came.
and they get them to me some months and some months I don't get. It. So they're usually pretty good about it. So I don't know if maybe she's been away or what.
And any luck with your secretary position?
So I've got a resume that just came in yesterday. I got a second potential that may be applying, so I'll put that out there. If anybody knows anybody that may want an administrative position, I am currently looking 12 hours a week, $17 an hour for general police administrative duties. I encourage anyone to apply.
Do you have any luck with that person we talked about yesterday?
That's one of the ones we're waiting to get back on. Yep.
Yeah, good.
Yep. Any questions from anybody? Yes.
The first thing is a speed complaint.
Yeah.
I've noticed that your officers have been out running radar early in the morning. If they could stop doing that when late for work, that'd be extremely.
Oh, okay. I was actually gonna write this down, Chris.
No, in all seriousness,
Yeah.
this is being zoomed, it's being recorded. Can you explain, I know what the purpose is.
Yeah.
There've been some comments about the speed signs, the digital speed signs that
Yeah.
run on battery power, and I'm assuming they have to be taken down and recharged.
They do.
Can you just explain how those work for the naysayers in the social media world that get on there and say, those things are stupid, those don't work at all?
Right. They have their place. They do have to be maintained. They gotta, Tyler's responsible for them. He takes them down whenever they die and, they gotta charge, I believe, 12 to 16 hours or something like that. And go out and put them back up. They're effective to the point, I think, when you have people who don't travel these roads all the time, they go flying down the road or whatever, all of a sudden they see this sign. Instantly, we all are just like, okay, we step on the brakes a little bit. I think if you're a local, the more you drive by these signs, they become part of the background news. And I think that it's the same with stop signs, yield signs, speed signs. It happens. You go by them over and over and over again throughout your daily routine. It's there, it just becomes second nature. Like I said, it's background noise, like the oak tree you just passed, It's, so they have their place. I think they do work to a point. I think the people that are out causing the problems anyway, intentionally just driving like jerks, or they don't care about those things anyway. And then you're left with the regular law-abiding citizens who, we all tend to get going a little quick, and those remind us. They do remind us, okay, yeah. So they got their place. They have their place. There are better systems out there, that can record more data and things like that. But these are basically just a warning. They don't record anything. It is what it is. It's just, you're going this fast, slow down a little bit.
I think they need to be charged.
Did it die again?
I think the one found by the river was.
That was still working last night.
Okay,
That
because
was-
that did die real quick. So we had Tyler bring it in, charge it up, and put it back out.
Oh, okay.
So it died again, and there's probably a problem with the sign.
It was working last night.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know if I went by there.
I'll have to check it.
I did, but-
I didn't notice again. See, it becomes part of the background.
Yeah.
You just.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, thank you. I think I do think they make a
Yeah,
difference. They make a difference in every community. Just like you said, I made the joke at first about driving fast. I don't. It drives my wife crazy when I'm driving because I drive like a grandpa. I am a grandpa.
Yeah, I was gonna say you are.
But occasionally, your mind's on work, your mind's on plowing the field, mowing the fields, everything.
Right.
And you kind of don't pay attention, and it does remind you. And I'm a firm believer that I don't think there's anybody in this room that, well, I won't point them out, but I know somebody back there said, but anyway. The guy that's giving me the evil eye.
Yeah.
But no, I do think that they're effective, and was there a tremendous amount of money spent on those?
Gosh, I would have to go back and double check. I want to say they were, oh boy, I think they were in the neighborhood of 2,000 a piece.
For a piece.
I think so.
Yeah, the first one had some grant money applied to it, but I don't remember.
Because the ones that actually record data and things like that, I mean, you're talking $6,000. The radar trailers that you see at Freedom has them, $15,000 for those. Yeah, they're not cheap. Yeah. And then,
You said we give state police report, but I guess not too often, right?
yeah, I try to get them as often as I can. Yeah.
Do we get a sheriff's department report?
That's included. So with these statistics on the calls for service, and
Yeah,
I got copies. I can leave these from the council.
okay,
When you see the calls for service, that's us and the sheriff's department, because when we're not on duty, they come over and handle those
Right.
calls. However, the car stops, the motor vehicle stops, that category in and of itself is just us. Okay, the other categories, motor vehicle stops and arrests are just us. Motor vehicle accidents and calls for service could include the sheriff's department. Okay,
thank
does
you.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? No questions? Okay,
Thanks.
that's it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
We open it up to public comment. Try and keep it civil.
Am I ever not supposed? The Effingham Neighborhood Watch is gonna have its first meeting on July 23rd at 2:00 in the afternoon. I have purchased 2 of these so far. I'm working on my sneaker drive to be able to afford more. I did save $35 each by ordering them somewhere else. So I got them for $15 each instead of 54. So these, I think I'm gonna put mine up near my driveway somewhere so I can use my camera. In case it gets stolen, we'll get the plate. And if anybody else has cameras at the end of their driveway and would be interested in putting a sign up close to their camera, let me know. I'll be sending sneakers in on the 15th of the month. And hopefully getting a big check, because I've got 2 big bags of sneakers in my shed right
There
now.
you go.
Good feel.
There you go.
So we have 150 members and we're working on more.
Wow. Good. Very good.
And Sean's doing the first meeting.
Yes, yeah, I may be there as well.
Yep, and Homeland Security will be here in August. To talk about emergency preparedness and some other stuff.
Time again and place your meeting.
2:00 here. We couldn't have it outside because I wasn't sure of the weather, and it's a big pain in the butt to reschedule. So that's where I'm at.
Thanks for your effort. Grace, again.
Yeah, that's me again. There was something that I forgot to ask, actually. We have an alternate that I need to have appointed, Joe Kingston. So the trustees make a recommendation and then the board of selectmen appoint for an alternate. So Joe Kingston lives in that yellow house right in the corner of Champion and Great, right in the corner there. He's been very active with us already and is actually setting up the storyboard walk around the school. So he's digging in even before he's appointed on doing work. So yeah, it goes along the trail there. It's not set up yet, but the pieces are at the library. So I wanted to ask the board if you could appoint Joe Kingston and then if it's something else.
Yeah, we can appoint him. Do we need paperwork?
I do have a form in the office and
Yeah.
I can have the signature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with it. If you want to make a decision now, we'll sign the documents.
Yeah.
Do you need his signature, Andre, or mine? Whose signature? Or theirs?
I need theirs.
Well,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
No, but it's-
I'll reach out to you on.
I can do checks, not a problem.
So there's a story behind it.
No, but then, anyway, so then the other thing, I just wanted to bring up that at the library, we got a lot of grants last year for computers and computer classes. So right now, we decided to break up the computer class into modules. The module right now is on social media, but on July 12th and 19th, I highly recommend the next module, which is on smartphones and all the different functions that you can do with your smartphones, which is on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock. So I
Is
just
that
want,
smartphones are smart people or smart?
you don't have to be smart. You can be anybody. Anybody can benefit from it. I have to say, anytime I listen to one of Don's classes, I pick up pointers. So I wanted to bring that up. And then I wanted to know if I could come officially at the end of next month and kind of give an update on what's happening with the library and let you know how the barbecue went if you're not there. And everything else that's happening.
Yeah.
So,
Just call and make an appointment to get on the agenda.
okay. Will do.
The end of next month.
Yes, please.
Okay, and you good?
That's it, really.
Chris, you good?
Chris Siemens, 120 Meady Road. I should have already been doing that. I apologize. My first question is, the last meeting Chuck asked about mowing the cap at the transfer station. Is that a requirement for the monitoring? I'm just curious, that's all. For the only reason why I asked is we mow at Ospey once a year, so I didn't know if it was a requirement. So
We, for the last 3 years, have actually done it 2 to 3 times a year. It's a very good point. We should probably have equipment running on that cap as little as possible. So once a year might do it.
I'm just also thinking from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
Well, it's mainly to keep it from this grass,
Yeah.
prevents brush and stuff growing up in it. You can't have trees, you get to go around, pull them up.
They have to bring in a different piece of equipment. To let it go the whole year.
So it's like, it got mold, so, yeah. Maybe it's twice a year, I don't know.
But I mean, Christian's got a good point.
Yeah.
Can we do it just one time a year? Because the less equipment on there, the bigger, potentially bigger that up.
Well, once a tree gets rooted in, it's pretty hard to get rid of it, just, it's a weed, it just keeps going back.
I just didn't know what the requirement was. I mean, bush hog was a bush hog. That's
Yeah, no, he mows it with his Z-mower.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's nothing heavy, it's not.
The other question I had, if I may, is what are we paying for calcium chloride applied? I'm assuming it's by the gallon.
Yeah, it's expensive, but, we just had the bill.
I already got that in.
Yeah,
That's
I think it was $1.14 a gallon. I think. Yeah, it's a little expensive right now.
I think it's from a taxpayer standpoint and a resident standpoint, that's actually good money. We pay 97 cents a gallon. We apply it ourselves. So you have to figure in, so far this year, I've driven the calcium application truck every time it's going out. I've applied 32,000 gallons so far this year in the town of Ospey. So you have to count in my time. I'm not gonna relinquish how much that money is right now.
Fuel.
Yeah. So for what it's worth, I think we're getting our bang for our buck there.
It's more than it's been in the past, I know that.
Yeah.
It may be even more than $1.14.
I mean, that would be a tremendous buy. I mean, considering we buy it, to put it ourselves at 97 cents. So if it was only.
I think the second load was more money than the first load.
Everybody is adding additional delivery fees through the fuel costs. So that would make sense. And talking about the signs, and you said that the quote that you got from the sign company was more than the state prison. And I looked at that again very recently for the town of Ospey, and you're talking about 2/3 cheaper. Or excuse me, yes, 2/3 cheaper from that sign company as opposed. So I'm wondering if it's not a bulk thing.
Well, it could be, because you buy a lot more signs.
Yeah, so having said that, course, you know, I think of stuff and then you think, well, what's the logistical nightmare gonna be, but, cost sharing. You know, like, we're gonna put our order in for Ospey, or you guys have an order, and then we buy them both together. Logistically, how would that work? Financially, who's gonna pay what? But, I don't know, you know, if we had 25 signs, you guys had 25, and that made 50, obviously, that's, you know, maybe reduced rate. Just, I don't know if that's something you've given any thought to. I could certainly, I just thought of this now, when you guys were talking about signs, because we get a better rate, because we do buy a lot more. Well, if we could take your order and put it in with ours, you guys just wrote the check to Ospey for what your cost is, then.
We just road to go down, search, research.
I mean, I will talk to the public works director. And, I know they would have a problem, just like in the past, I've picked up signs at the state prison. We go down there, it's at least once a month, sometimes this time of year, it's once a week, we make our way down that way.
Yeah.
We've been down there 3
Yeah, we
times,
picked them up before for us.
Yeah. so I will look into that and I'll let you folks know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It just raises a question for me, whether aggregate buying among towns nearby each other is something that's been explored. I know you're doing that now with a contract for emergency services, but even calcium chloride said have to go into Freedom. I wonder if what the price was or whatever, that buying material together or other things is one way in tight times to try to trim costs. Yes, all
Yeah.
for the winter.
We can look into that, most definitely. I mean, the calcium, the truck is trying to, where it's so scarce, it's trying to keep everybody happy.
Sure.
Last week, you know, Freedom got a little bit, and Effingham got a little bit. This
Right.
week, Freedom's gonna get a little bit, we're gonna get a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not like we're buying it together, it's just on the
No,
truck.
I know, I'm just curious whether we get a better price if we were buying it together. And if you're maybe even buying it with Ospey, which is a bigger. I don't know, just saying that might be worth exploring whether you could get closer to the 99 and, or I don't know.
Well, probably in calcium's case, you know, this, you're figuring out, apply, so, I mean, the truck costs as much to drive the truck in Freedom as it does in Effingham, so probably wouldn't be much savings there.
And then in that instance, because it's applied.
Yeah.
And not one truck, one of their applications trucks couldn't possibly come do
Sure.
Freedom and Effingham.
Sure.
They could do part of Effingham and part of Freedom, but
Yeah.
they could do part of Effingham one day, part of Freedom one day, and
Right.
you couldn't do it, if it was, truck was large enough, I would think that that would apply there for calcium chloride, but it takes more than one truckload, so.
Anybody else get in there? No? We do have a request for a non-public. Do we want to do the non-public and then call it an evening or? No sense. Okay. So that's what we're gonna do, folks. Thanks for coming, but I'll make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3 2C.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just. Summer.
Good night.
All right, let's go.
Make a motion to leave non-public.
Second.
Motion passed. We convened at 7 PM. What about the minutes? Want to see the minutes? Or no? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Motion made by. Yep. Seconded by Vicky.
For how long?
Yeah.
affect adversely. Took that one. Roll call vote to see the minutes. Chuck?
Aye.
Vicky?
Yes.
I'll say it. Motion passed.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second it. Oh, gosh. My head is in a spin right now.
Did you second the motion to come out of non-public? Or did you?
Chuck did, was here, and then Chuck.
I seconded it.
Been moved and seconded to,
We can assign that. What I get for putting my pen in? There you go. I'm gonna put this ugly with the mail and everything.
Lenny, you said adjourn, yeah? You good?
yep.
Okay.
Didn't we vote? Didn't we vote?
Yeah?